Yes, and we have a special guest with us today, and it is an honor for me to be here with um, Mayor Vi Lyles. She is the 59th mayor of the city of Charlotte since 2017. Mayor, it's a privilege to be here
I
with
do
you.
thank you for having me.
Yes.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. You're doing good work.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Mayor, before we get started, I do want to address the issues about affordable housing and the reentry program and how that may affect some of the women or men that are being released from incarceration and, what would be a problem they might have with housing.
Well, there are so many issues around affordable housing, and they're very tough and they're very personal, and it's one-on-one. Last week, I went to the opening of a new complex Mulberry, and it's for seniors. And one of the seniors came up to me and she said, "Did you know it took me over $150 to get an application?" And I said, "They don't charge that much." She said, "No, it's $25 each time." And she said, and they sometimes they know that I'm not going to be able to afford it, and they still, there are just so many small things that eat away at our ability to be human and to live. But with reentry, this is a really important point. The Mecklenburg County Reentry Program has really worked well for our state facilities. But now, with the change in the federal law, the president is estimating, or at least the federal government is estimating, over 750,000 people will come out of our federal facilities. A lot of them went in during the 80s and the 90s with drug use and selling of drugs. We expect over 22,000 of those people to relocate to Mecklenburg County. And most people know that if you apply for an apartment for a rental and you put down that you're a felon, most likely your application will be rejected. So it's a very difficult thing. It's something the federal government has finally changed, where they understand that people that had these convictions should not have been in prison for 20 and 30 years. But our real estate community has not changed. I hope that we'll begin to work with our apartment owners and their association to make sure that they understand how difficult it is. If you don't have a home, you are not really going to be comfortable and be able to support your family, all of those things that we all want. So this is a big deal for us, a very big deal.
Yes, and as I was doing the research on the statistics, it says that most household families are spending at least 30% of their income on rent.
We call that something what we would call income stress. That when you're spending more than 30% and people are spending 50% and 55%, the numbers are very high in Charlotte right now because we're growing and we're building a lot of new apartments, but those apartments are not affordable. And we have got to do better to preserve our existing affordable housing as well as build more affordable housing. We've done really well. The citizens supported us with our bond referendum, but it doesn't make a difference today. And people are looking for something right now. When we build something, it might take 18 months. That 18 months is too long. So we're trying very hard to look where we can buy existing units, existing apartments, so that we can make something happen more quickly.
Yes, and Mayor, and that is so good how you said that you're going to try to talk to the people who are renting these apartments to see if they can maybe get on a scale for people who maybe don't have a high figure for their income. And so that is.
But we need to protect people from being evicted. The county is going to put in money to get you a lawyer. When you go to eviction court, they're going to have 500 additional cases that they're going to be able to work with, so that what we found, if you're evicted and you go to court without a lawyer, you're usually going to end up being evicted. But when you have a lawyer representing you, that often means that you get to go back home. And that's our goal, is to keep people in their housing.
Wow. And yes, and over the last year, it has been at least 29, I think, thousand evictions. And so you really have a strategic plan to really help those who are being evicted, those who can't afford affordable houses. So you have some good strategies.
We work very hard to have strategies for everyone. It's sometimes hard. It's been a while for us to get to this point, but we realize how important people in this community are paying their taxes, and they deserve those services.
Yes. Mayor Vi, how important is it for transitional housing and emergency shelters? They're definitely making a difference, assisting the homeless.
They do. The emergency shelters are really important, but more importantly is getting into a transitional program. We have a great program here, Charlotte Family Housing. Often they're serving women with their children who have been evicted or had a domestic violence situation, and they are quickly giving people the reasons that they can be successful. They can get a job. They can live in this place until they can find that job. And then after they've completed the program, whether it's about alcohol or drugs or how to actually have a bank account, what we're doing is then putting those families into apartments. And we have private citizens that just come out and help. They'll help with your furniture. They'll help you get settled with the kids getting back in school. And we subsidize those rents to keep them at 30% so that you have a fair chance at getting out of it, getting out of subsidized housing. So we're working hard on a lot of things. We got to do more. It's just more. We're growing so fast, and the income inequality in the city is great. If you're making $10 or $12 an hour, it's not likely that you're going to be able to afford to live. If you live on disability or Social Security, you're not going to be able to live in our city. And that's not right. We've got to make it right for everyone to live in our city.
So how do we address the minimum wage issue? Is it going to increase or...
I'm not running for president, and I'm not going to be a senator in Washington, but they need to raise the minimum wage.
Just so people can live.
Just so that people can afford to live. I don't know, not every place is the same. If you live in a small city, you may not need or see the idea of rents going up. But I think housing is an issue not just in big cities like ours, but at rural cities and small towns, they're having these same issues.
Absolutely, Mayor. And it was staggering to me because when I was doing the research, worldwide, there's 150 million people that don't have affordable housing, and 1.6 billion are just homeless. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I haven't heard that number about the homelessness, but we try to keep up with it here in Charlotte.
Yes.
And we believe that approximately 1,000 people need these services. And, part of the homeless issue is that you just have to get them into a place to live because they may have many, many more difficulties. And the capacity for those folks to get away from homelessness out on the street, out in woods or places where they set up camps, to get them inside a facility is important. I'm really excited about the Urban Ministries program. They have Moore's Place, and we also have that with the Charlotte I'm not going to remember the name exactly, but we have another one of those on Davison Street that was funded by in honor of many of the bishops and priests that supported helping the homeless population. And so we've got to continue to work on that. We've got so much work to do. Homelessness is very difficult. When you get that far down, you sometimes don't know the way up. Hope Haven helps with alcoholism and drug use, and other places try to help our veterans that have perhaps experienced PSD with wars and where they were stationed abroad. We've got so many issues. So just keep praying for us that we keep working hard on this. We're trying really hard.
I can feel your heart, your sincerity, and so I feel that you're really into this, and I know that you're making an impact right now and will continue to make an impact helping your community.
It isn't about me so much as it's about talking about it so that people can understand it. The hardest thing that I have to do is when someone calls and says, I think I ought to be able to have a place to live, and I have no resources to do that immediately. But I promise this community that if you give us some time, give us a year and a half, we will get some things done, visible and available to the people that live here.
And I believe that, Mayor. So how can the community get more involved, or faith-based organization, with this war on homelessness? What are some of the strategies that you
I go to
think?
Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, and we have a shelter there for homeless women. It's my sister's place. But they come in homeless, but they leave with job skills, and they leave with some place to live that they can afford. So when you're talking about how to do outreach, there are many houses of faith that are doing great work. And I'm so thankful for that, because they really take sometimes that pressure, like a pressure cooker when it starts to, steam at the top. They help us keep that steam down a lot. So I'm already appreciative of that. What I ask our faith organizations to do is, if you're considering building a gym, or if you're considering a community center, if you would come to the city and say, I want to build affordable housing on top of that building, we'll help you do that. We're working with Reverend Weary right now, and he is about to do that. Land that they had planned to expand on, their congregation came to a place that they said, instead of building more bricks and mortar for the church, we'll stay where we are, and we will build for the community. And they are going to put in housing that's affordable under their own community development corporation. Lots of places are doing that, but we need more, just more.
Yes, you never have enough of those
That's
type
true.
of places. Mayor, what about the reentry program? How is homelessness affecting these women when they come out, or what are some strategies to prevent homelessness among those who are coming out of incarceration?
Andrea, you know more about this than I do. I had a young woman come to me, and she made an appointment, and she said she got dropped off at the bus stop. There was no money. She didn't have family support. And she walked from Trade Street down to South Boulevard, where she was in the McLeod Center. They will help people coming out immediately.
Okay.
But that's a very temporary situation. You've got to get on your feet so quickly. So we know the problem.
Yes.
And we're working really hard. And I'm really thinking Mecklenburg County Reentry Program. If you go to www.mecklenburgcounty.com/reentry, you'll learn a lot about how to address some of those issues. And they have staff that actually go out to the facilities and talk before. So you're
Before
not
they get out.
surprised. You're not surprised. Because when that young woman told me she didn't know where to go, actually someone at the bus station told her. She did not know. And that's why it was important for them to expand to the federal facilities and begin to do that same work.
Okay, great. You're right. Yeah. Yes, I do know a little bit more, being having a background in addiction and things like that. What is the leading cause of this homelessness? How do we get here? We know unemployment is one issue, low wages, we already discussed that.
For our city right now, I really think it's the wage inequality. And I think it's the lack of change by people that own property, and they don't see the value of people that perhaps were just treated, I wouldn't say treated unfairly, but those laws that talked about selling drugs and using drugs, that said you had to be in prison for 30 years,
Yes.
that was not right. Mel Watt was our congressperson. I think he was the only one that objected to that. He says, what's the difference between crack and cocaine?
No different.
But if you were arrested under cocaine, you more likely got a chance to go to a treatment facility and more likely to have a shorter jail sentence. So we're dealing with the consequences of history. And that's why, as a community, we have to be more engaged politically. You need to actually think about this. When you are going to register to vote, it makes a difference. Going to vote makes a real difference.
Yes.
And voting for the right person can change an agenda very quickly.
Absolutely, I believe that. And as you were voting for, it's changing a generation. Yes. Mayor, what are some of the challenges that you face trying to get these strategies implemented, or how are we? Where are we now? And
Well, I've always said there are a lot of people that make money off of poverty.
mm,
And when you're trying to change the dynamic, there are people that would rather take a house and put locks on each door and rent by the room. That's not really helping people grow their self-esteem, and it's not helping them get training for a job. So we need to think about this differently. And we need to make sure that people that are trying to help people are doing it in a way that has good results. So I'm all about measurement and research. I believe you have to ask people, what did you really accomplish when you were spending government money, or even your, any other type of money? You have to actually say, are you really helping people move along? The biggest difference, I think, would be for people to have a livable wage. And that right now is about $15 or $16 an hour with benefits. So where we have small businesses, we know that can have an impact, but we've got to make that adjustment. You have to pay a little bit more for your breakfast. If you're eating a $5 breakfast, maybe it ought to be $7 so people can afford to live somewhere. We've got to do some things like that. Those are hard choices, very hard choices, but we need to make them. And that's why I say people like you continue to advocate, you continue to educate, and now we just need to make sure that we can make the change happen.
Yes, and like you said, it's that, a lot of times a community will place all the things on the politicians, but you're saying it's a community as a whole coming together and for our city and working together to help those and moving selfishness out of the way. I think a lot of people are very selfish, and what I hear you saying is that you're just open to helping people. If you have a house, look, you'll put them in your house.
I didn't say that.
Wait,
but I believe
not to that extent.
It's not. But it's not about it's the collective action. It's where people bond together and say, I'm going to support this family that you may even know they are going through incidents of income that they've lost lost their job, and sometimes you don't know, paying somebody's rent for 1 month can make all the difference in the world. We have crisis assistance ministry, which has been in the city for a very, very long time, and they will help you with 3 months rent, if that will keep you in your place. But at some point we've got that started because people bound together with a common idea, and it's grown beyond that. We all need to have and look for a way to participate. We all need to have a way to come together and say, we're going to make a difference. I'm going to help a child. I'm going to help a family. I'm going to take food to the food bank. I'm going to support crisis assistance with a donation of money. We're going to have to engage everyone to do this. It isn't on the mayor.
Right.
It's what kind of city do you want to live in?
Yes.
And make it that city that you want.
And do your part. And
do your part.
And what you're saying, and participate, and you give your service. That is so wonderful.
Your wise words. Do your part. I like that. I'm going to take that and use it a lot. You said it very well, Andrea. You're really, was exact. Do your part.
Yeah, because we're put here to do our part.
That's right.
Your part is being the mayor, or God knows where else He might take you, and you're doing your part. And I just appreciate it. I appreciate your heart, your sincerity, and you're just not just politician that's talking. I believe you're doing the work, and I only met you on 2 occasions, and it has been a pleasure and a delight. We have with us Mayor Lyles, who is making an impact in the city of Charlotte on affordable housing. She has implemented some strategies, and things are going to be done, and things are getting done. Mayor, let me ask you one more question. What has been one of your biggest achievements that you can really feel proud of being the mayor of the city of Charlotte? Not tooting your own hat, but just something that you're being proud of that you have helped people with.
What makes me do this work every day is last week someone that was living in an affordable housing space that we had helped renovate, they sent me a letter. It was just a little card, one of those little tiny cards, and it was like, and it said, God bless you. and on the inside it had some scripture in it, and he said, "Thank you for doing a good job." That just made me tear up, because I believe the best thing about the city are the people that live here, and we've just got to do more. We have the chance to be the best city in this country, and when we do something well, I want people to understand it and appreciate it and build on it. When things don't go well, and sometimes they don't, we've had more gun violence than I ever wanted to think about right now. And we're trying to work on that. Why does it happen? Why is it happening? It's not just the gun. The gun is there, but what made it get to the point that someone went to get the gun to use it? So there are lots of things like that that we're going to work on. But the best thing is when we make a difference in one person's life, and when they send me a note and say that they're doing that or saw it, that makes me pretty proud.
That's it. And just to know you're doing a great job and to have a heart for people. And you know, I think about the gun. Matter of fact, I had lost my grandson to
I'm
gun.
so
They
sorry.
had shot him in the head. This is in Buffalo, New York, about 6 months ago. And yes, and you're saying what is it before they pick the gun up? What brings them to that point? A lot of them are angry. There's so many issues involved. You know, they lack father, they lack education. It's just so much. And like you said, if everybody can do their part in what sphere that God has placed us in to work and help people, it would be a better place.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear about your
Yes,
grandson. That's devastating.
It was
to
devastating.
Any
He was 20
mom,
years old.
dad, grandma, granddad. It's just devastating to hear that kind of news.
Yes.
And it's devastating to hear that someone else, it's never just the person that lost their lives. I can't imagine being the person that actually caused someone to die. And that's like you lose too, because someone's going to end up in the penitentiary. And that is a lost life there.
Yes.
We have too many people in prison today around guns right now. So I'm really sorry for that.
Yes, thank you.
But I think that what I have been learning is that when New Orleans and Baltimore and some other cities like Charlotte had this real uptick in the use of guns, that it was caused by other things besides just the incident that one time. That you can actually look and see that, for example, if you're in a relationship and the person chokes you, that is an indicator that at some point he may kill you or she may kill you. And this is both men and women. And that's been proven. So we talk to women and men that are in domestic abuse situations, and we say, once those hands are around your throat, then the next time you're not likely to be able
Those
to
are
live.
signs. That's the
Those
sign.
are signs.
Yes.
So what are the other signs when we're talking with young men of color and young ladies of color? Have you been in situations where you've seen so much violence it's okay? Have you been in the judicial system so many times that you don't think that it's possible for you to be successful? What are those things that are happening? We're going to study that for Charlotte, specifically for what makes a difference here. And we're going to try to reach out and intervene early. What makes that happen? Just like we've done for domestic violence. We know choking leads to death. And now what are the things that we're using these guns for that are leading to the loss of that life?
Wow, that is wonderful. And you're going to get to the root.
Yeah, it may become the stress that's in the household over not being able to pay the rent. Imagine, you don't have money to put food on the table, and how do you react? Is your history to slap the kid or harm someone? Those are the indicators we have to look at, and we got to be honest with ourselves and accept it. We have to know it happens.
It happens.
And we have to do something about it.
It happens. And most families, not all families, I'm not just stereotyping black people,
Right.
they come out of a family where there's less communication. So the communication is, if I'm angry, I lash out, I hit. They don't have no problem-solving skills, communication skills, and that's part of the problem with some of these young gang violence. They tell you they all their life they come out of families that didn't have that.
So what you do is teach that.
Yes,
And it
yes.
is something that you can teach. You can do this. It's not something that nobody's given up hope.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to provide more hope, and you will give people life skills to do
Yes,
this.
yes,
You know,
ma'am.
how do you walk away?
Mm-hmm. And as a substance abuse counselor, alcohol counselor, coming out of that for over the last 25, it's been 25 years since I haven't did indulge in those behaviors. I had to learn those things, okay? I didn't have communication skills, and so now God has allowed me to help people who don't have it, so I understand where they're
You-
coming from.
If you're watching this, you've just heard Andrea say, she went through this experience and she came out
Homelessness,
and
all of
she
it.
knows.
I
You
know.
know. So reach out to her. You know, I heard a story on the radio the other day, and the officers were called to somebody shooting up heroin sitting in a car. And instead of arresting them, they gave them a card. It took over a year, but one day someone called, and they are now in recovery. That's the way you are. If someone
Yes.
would call you, you
Yes.
can help them with
I
recovery.
can help them. I can help them because it's just so, I didn't know.
That's
And
right.
one of the reasons why people are involved in the gangs and in the prison system, they don't know who they are and they don't know how much God loves them. Because once you know that, and then you learn to love yourself, there's no
That's right.
there's no stopping.
And you know, money isn't everything.
It's not.
And I can tell you that there are many people that have a lot of money and they're unhappy. Their children may not speak to them. Their parents don't even want to visit them. So money is not everything. Support and love is everything.
It's everything.
It is.
Wow. Well, viewers, there you have it from Mayor Vi Lyles. It's powerful information. What she just said, love, and it's just wonderful. Well, Mayor, it is a privilege to be here with you again, and thank you so much for taking time